And speaking of disgraceful people, see how I made that transition? Not the transition that Republicans are very afraid of, not that type of transition. Radio transition to Pam Bondi, although you could make, no, I won't go there. So Pam Bondi yesterday refused to answer multiple direct questions about the FBI, including incriminating alleged photos that Donald Trump has with half-naked young girls.
She is an angry elf.
Pam Bondi could have just answered this question and said no. But Senator Whitehouse, who, by the way, did a very good job yesterday in questioning her, and she had her notes ready to go, just attacking every single person that was asking her questions. But Pam Bondi refused to answer what I would consider to be a very basic yes or no answer.
Like you would ask anyone,
Yeah,
Brian.
yeah.
Did you have pictures with nude girls who were underage?
Very basic.
No.
Have a listen to this.
Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Frank Stare won't answer the question. And by the way, there are reports of this, that there are images of Donald Trump with underage topless women, along with Jeffrey Epstein. But Pam Bondi, if it wasn't true, would have easily said, no, that's not true. Notice how she wouldn't answer the question. Oh, yeah, by the way, Dick Durbin also questioned her and asked what I would consider to be a very simple question.
Most of them were straightforward.
Yes or no answer. And by the way, this is a very important question. Not to say that that last question wasn't important, because we probably want to know if our president is taking pictures with naked underage girls. Not that that's not important.
And is there proof of it?
But Dick Durbin asked Pam Bondi, were you consulted by the White House before all these National Guard troops were sent into these cities, which I think is a very important question that you would probably want to ask the Attorney General. Another question that Pam Bondi refuses to answer.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Madam Attorney General, let me ask you this question. Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
Been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
Dick Durbin is 150% correct. You're the Attorney General. Unprecedented now, where you have these National Guard troops that are being called out to states in this country to go after American citizens. You have local mayors, governors, or local law enforcement that are saying this is unnecessary. And a simple question that Dick Durbin asked, which is, has the White House consulted with you before they made the decision to call in the National Guard troops? And she won't even answer that very simple question. She won't answer any questions about the Epstein files. Kash Patel won't even answer the question directly. Did you tell Pam Bondi that Trump is in there? They won't answer the most basic questions. Why? There's a reason why they won't answer these questions. Because it would make them look foolish and terrible. No, I can guarantee you that Donald Trump did not consult Pam Bondi about calling National Guard troops in. This was Donald Trump's personal decision. He didn't consult anybody about this. He's just doing it. And when it comes to the Epstein stuff, Pam Bondi knows exactly where these photos are. She's heard everything. She knows exactly what's in these files, and there's a reason why they won't answer direct questions about Tom Homan and this $50,000 duffel bag payment. Nobody knows where the money went. They won't answer any direct question when it comes to Epstein. They won't answer direct questions on the legalities of calling in the National Guard troops to these cities across the country because it's unlawful and they're hiding things. That's why they won't answer these questions. So what did Pam Bondi do? She had all these statements ready. Insults and ad hominem attacks for every single Democrat that was there asking relevant questions to deflect from the fact that she is hiding something. That's where we are at right now, and Dick Durbin is 150% correct. That's where we're at as a country right now, and it's disgraceful.
Donald Trump said himself that it was his idea. He conjured the idea. He agreed to it. So what's the harm in saying, yeah, we talked and we consulted, because she's afraid they're going to tie in what she says to the Trump administration. But he's already admitted she's at an oversight committee. She's the Attorney General of the United States. She does not get to say, I'm not answering that, or I don't know, because she only has a job because of public money, because of taxes. Right. The whole presidential administration exists because of the public, and we have a right to ask questions that are relevant to the public and important to the public. And she has to go up there and answer. And it was disappointing. It was disappointing that the chairman of the Oversight Committee didn't force her to answer, didn't correct her, didn't say, we want you to answer that question. Nope. He just let her go roughshod over everybody and call them names and insult them.
It's an important point, and this is why we need a Democrat sitting in that chair that will hold these people accountable. And that's also why it's so important why the midterms are right around the corner. You have someone up there who is supposed to be calling for order, and the witness is supposed to be answering questions. Not only did she refuse to answer any of these questions, but she was ad hominem attacks to these people up there that were respectfully asking these kinds of questions.